I do want to say one thing about Brandon versus Skip.
What?
Skip does this thing where his countdowns are the length of seconds. Brandon does this thing where his countdowns are like each second is 5 seconds. Skip sometimes goes 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, and I'm like, I get back. Brandon, other extreme.
I don't think
5.
I'm fine with
4.
Well, that's too much. That's
3.
longer than a second.
That's yeah.
That's 2 seconds. I don't think they need to be a second, but I think they should all be the same length. Like
Here's
you
what
can't be changing it between them.
But here's what I love about it. First of all, if he's on the main show today, it will be really fast. Maybe a oh yeah counter thing. But what I like about it is it doesn't make him look crazy. It makes me look crazy when I'm going to
For not being able to keep up.
Just no, with Anna and Jank going, all right, we're coming back in 5.
Yeah, it's
4.
It's very Wayne's World or something. It's like that's too long. You don't need to. Yeah.
How are you, John?
I
haven't seen you in so long.
I know that's true.
The other day I said to myself, I was like, I haven't called. What should I call John and talk to him? Because I haven't just talked to him in like months.
You are one of my best friends, and I want to talk to you, but don't call me to catch up. And that goes out to everyone. So this is the priority. This is the order of priorities. 1 is actually seeing each other and catching up. 2 is Skyping or Zooming or playing a video game or Discord. 3 is literally not knowing what's going on in your life for years if necessary. And only then do you reach talking on the phone for even a few minutes. I would rather not be friends anymore.
So is this a phone issue? You don't like phone?
I could not hate talking on the phone more. There are many forms of communication. No, well then next would be downloading and installing Clubhouse. But I maybe would hate the phone more than that even. Although on my phone, very rarely do I have to deal with Elon Musk. So
Clubhouse, I'm on Clubhouse, not to brag.
You are? I
have that one friend.
Like hell.
The idea of it sounds like hell.
Why the fuck would I ever want to do that?
Oubliettes, just slipping into people's oubliettes. Just like, oh no, this should be forgotten about.
Wait, are they really called oubliettes?
No, but that's what it sounds like to me. It's just like, oh, I just like Hoggle fell through a hole in nothing and ended up here in a room with like the voices.
Don't do a metaphor to Labyrinth. Now I'm kind of interested in it. No, I don't want to do that, but I do want to hang out with you. Oh, you know what we could do? Here's how we could catch up.
Sleep on my freaking couch in Rust.
That's true. We played Rust for 5.5 minutes together, maybe. But the reason I haven't been back into Rust is my friend Quay got me and James to install Valheim.
How is that?
And so that's our like survival game. But if you want to come into our dedicated server, I can show you some of our delightful settlements.
I would like to do that.
Come into our server. I'm making a bridge right now. Cool.
It's like so bad how over the top you've gone with other people's things and not our shared thing. I have built. Yesterday that our server went down. We're on T-Pain's server, not to brag, but T-Pain's server went down. Whitelisted, so are you. It's fine. It went down, and we had to figure out like I had to figure out what to do with myself. So I went on like the generic server. Got murdered. Yeah, you're naked in Rust. You're naked with a rock and a torch.
Oh my god! Which is like basically what you could probably cobble together in LA if you were naked and alone. I mean, I would do Rust. It's just I don't know. They made a server. They told me to come in. It's been fun. I like being a Viking.
Good for you.
Not in real life. By the way, who's on the main show with me / JR later?
Kenya Eve. Oh, it's you, Jank, and Kenya Evelyn.
Wait, I remember Kenya Evelyn. Isn't she a Guardian reporter?
Yes.
Yes, we had her on the Damage Report a while back. Oh, I've never done the show with her. That's gonna be fun.
So that's
okay. What about the second hour?
Second hour is Benjamin Dixon instead of JR. JR needed it. JR's been doing. Do you know how hell Friday is for JR?
I don't know. I imagine it's rough. Okay, so who else? Jank.
Yeah, Jank and Helen Hong's back.
Oh wow! Look at that.
I know.
Who else haven't we had in a really long time that you would love to have back?
Ben Mankiewicz.
Oh, don't say he'll. Well, I mean, he's not gonna be able to hear this because we're not live. But
no, wouldn't watch the show.
Yeah, where is Ben? Hashtag where is Ben? Where in the world is Ben Mankiewicz?
Did you hear him talk some dirty talk to me on the 19th anniversary stuff? And by dirty, I don't.
He was on the 19th anniversary. I didn't see that part.
He was in the post game, and he was like, he said, "Brett, I was jealous of you."
About what?
When they first met, he was like, "I was jealous because you had a segment where you could take risks and be like the crazy guy."
Wait, are you talking about Brett stalking?
Yeah, and I was like, basically, I said, I didn't know you were such a emotional basket case when we were in the same room together.
Yeah, I remember like briefly thinking, because you worked next to us, but not really with us. It was sort of weird. I remember thinking like, why is like Rick spending all of his time talking to this other guy? Like, not that I was like trying to hang out with Rick, but I'm saying like Rick's with TYT. And you had a weird closet with bricks inside of it.
Well, originally I was set up next to they wanted me to shoot a daily segment near the makeup counter where everyone got their makeup done.
Where the ramen was?
On that side of the curtain with everybody. And you like walk in from the outside.
That's also the pathway to get into the building.
It was so bad. And I was like, I can't shoot anything here. So the Vanguard guys, like all the people like Adam Yamaguchi and Christoph Putzel had their own office.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Damage Report as we close out yet another week of American politics. And we're gonna do it the way that we have become accustomed to, with two things: the throwing out of the garbage and with the Brett Erlich. How's it going, the Brett Erlich?
Thank you. Oh, it's all right, man. I wasn't ready. I forgot that we we're gonna do a show in a second. And
we are,
was just chatting my face off mid-story. Feeling good. Yeah, that's life, man.
Yeah, we were just catching up, talking about how we want to talk on the phone and everything.
That's not true. John doesn't like the phone. John, obviously not from the San Fernando Valley, because where I'm from, it is just, you can talk on the phone for 5 hours. That's just how it works.
I don't know why that would be a particular thing there. But anyway, glad to have you here. We've got a full hour. We're gonna be giving you updates on important stories like student loan debt cancellation, what's going on with Texas, what's going on with Ted Cruz, why does he hate dogs, what are dogs gonna do about it, and scandals having to do with vaccine distribution. We've got our garbage people as well. But aside from that, Brett, what is gonna be going on later on the TYT network today?
Later on the TYT network, you can enjoy some amazing things. We have the Young Turks, which is on at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern time. I will not be on it, but John will. John will be presenting first hour alongside Cenk Uygur and Kenya Evelyn. And then second hour is Benjamin Dixon presenting the stories. Then Cenk Uygur will also join him. And Helen Hong, comedian funny Helen Hong is back. So that's exciting for that in postgame. And then after that, some really great times. Myself, John, and JR will be joined by Natalie Tran of Community Channel.
Yeah. That is an epic crossover event right there.
So good.
Which, by the way, you've been working for a few weeks to schedule her to be on the show. And I'm not saying that's why, after a gap of literally years from producing a video, she suddenly made another video, but I'm not saying that's not why.
Yeah,
and it's now because of video. If you're watching this and if you're not familiar with Community Channel, first of all, welcome to YouTube. It was a very big part of YouTube. Now she's been sort of dormant for a while, but her channel was absolutely awesome. Like amazing videos, which the great thing about YouTube is they're still there. You should definitely go watch Community Channel. It's awesome.
She's so thoroughly great in every possible way.
Yeah. Well, can't wait to do this. And also can't wait to do this. So why don't we do this? So we're gonna be talking about the news. Thank you for being here, everybody. Please hit the like button, share the stream if you haven't already. And as we go through this hour of news, if you'd like to send us tweets and chats and super chats, chatterinos, TikTokers, if you wanna do that, we'll respond either by talking directly to you, tweeting back, or dancing, depending on the platform. And with that, Brett, why don't we jump into this thing?
Let's.
I like that. That was nice. Ted Cruz has a lot of splaining to do, and it began literally in an airport in Mexico. Why is it that he went to Cancun when his own state was freezing, people were dying, and they needed help desperately? Here is how he tried to explain himself to, I believe it was a Telemundo crew in that Mexican airport.
This is going through horrific storms, and millions of Texans have lost power and lost heat and have been hurt. And our family was among them. We had no heat and no power. And yesterday, my daughters asked if they could take a trip with some friends, and Heidi and I agreed, so I flew down with them last night, dropped them off here, and now I'm headed back to Texas and back to continuing to work to try to get the power on. What's happening in Texas is unacceptable, and a lot of Texans are hurting.
So there's like 4 parts of that. 3 of them are awful. 1 of them is awful and a massive lie. But Brett, what do you think of that?
It's so good. Ted Cruz basically, he goes on a bunch of different outlets to explain himself, but he thinks he can lie. Ted Cruz would not let Ted Cruz get away with this. If it was anybody besides Ted Cruz who did that, Ted Cruz would hold their feet to the fire. And it's so crazy. And in this moment, we know since then that he was absolutely lying. And this exposes how pathological Ted Cruz is. You know how like when Granny is done with like doing eyebrow stuff, she just like tattoo the eyebrows on. It's literally Ted Cruz has surgically grafted his eyebrows into like empathy mode. I'm sitting here and I feel real bad for all the people in Texas. And this is the point where he thinks he can get away with certain aspects of his lie. And the one you're talking about is him saying that he was dropping his kids off at school. Listen, the reason people say I'm gonna drop the kids off at school and they just mean making a doo-doo is less of a metaphor for BS and crap than what Ted Cruz is doing right now.
Yeah. That was one of the lies. The other was that it all came about because his daughters wanted to take a trip, which it's turning out that's not true anyway. But all of it is a combination of awful and lies. Like the reason they're talking to you, this crew in that airport, is because you realize that what you did was awful, or more likely that what you did people know about. Like you probably knew it was awful, but you didn't think that people would know about it. But now you do, so you're rushing back. And so the first part that's awful is, the people of Texas are really suffering. They've lost their power. My family did too. Well, okay, no, we already understood that. You're the one that needs to demonstrate that you really get that. Just saying what the situation is, for right now, it just illuminates how bad of a decision it was for you to go. Adding in that your own house lost power. Now it just seems like you were so inconvenienced by that you decided to fly to Mexico. That makes it even worse. Throwing your kids under the bus is definitely worse. Lying that it was their idea is even worse. And then saying, and so now, I dropped them off and I'm just returning to help get the power back. You don't care about that and you're not gonna do anything. So all of it was awful and all of it was a lie.
Yeah, it basically like I realize he has these moments where he's talking about him when he realized it was a mistake. He's like, once I got on the plane, I realized I was having second thoughts immediately. No, buddy, those are not your second thoughts. That is you realizing that you're in trouble. So essentially what you're saying is, I didn't realize what a mistake I had made until I realized I would get in trouble for it. Yeah. And his calculation is not to say I made a mistake forgive me, it was wrong. He doesn't apologize. He just says it was a mistake. His calculation is how much of the lie can I maintain for as long as possible until it becomes perfectly clear.
Yeah,
to everyone 100%. That I'm playing.
Totally. Now, that was in the airport. Okay, so then he got home. Maybe he had time to come up with something better. Here he is at home explaining why he did what he did.
Senator Cruz, what do you say to the people who saw you leave the state of Texas during this freeze?
Well, what I would say is I was taking care of my family the same way Texans all across the state were taking care of my family. And it certainly was not my intention for that to be understood as critics have tried to paint it as somehow diminishing the suffering and hardship other Texans had experienced. Look.
Question. Go. Senator Cruz, a lot of people are calling your decision to go to Cancun during this time tone deaf. Did you come back because you felt guilty, or did you come back because you got caught and there was a lot of backlash for you going?
So the question from the video on the cell phone was whether the decision to go was tone deaf. Look, it was obviously a mistake, and in hindsight, I wouldn't have done it. I was trying to be a dad, and all of us have made decisions. When you've got two girls who've been cold for two days and haven't had heater power, and they're saying, "Hey, look, we don't have school. Why don't we go? Let's get out of here." I think there are a lot of parents that'd be like, "All right, if I can do this, great." That's what I wanted to do.
Okay, so look, the immediate surface thing is, as with every video of Ted Cruz, there is not a thing he says or a body motion he makes that is not an attempt to lie and feign emotion. His little he does this little thing like I'm really thinking about this. Even saying the question from the video on the cell phone is just intended to diminish the question. Who the hell cares what form it came in? It's a question many people are asking you. He is so fake. And we've been talking about how he threw his kids under the bus. That was like extra details of they were cold and they thought, well, we don't have school, so how could I possibly tell them they can't go to Cancun? As if, well, yeah, you either stay at home frozen or you take them yourself on an international tropical vacation. And I think that everybody sees through this. I think that the defense is really clearly not sufficient. But I find it just, God, that this guy, that he won re-election. Like, he's been around for a bit now. He's probably gonna remain as a senator. It's just insane that he's capable of doing that when he is just so clearly fake, slimy, such an actual politician.
But his excuse that I didn't, this was a mistake, I realized it later, as though he hasn't attacked other people for doing this exact same thing. He went after the mayor of Texas for going on a trip in the middle of a crisis. So it's not like he hasn't had the experience to realize that someone making this decision is a scandal. Yep. He knows that. He's accused others of doing that. That's why it's complete BS. He thought everyone was so stupid they wouldn't realize that he was gone. Once he was gone, he thought everyone was so stupid they wouldn't realize how inappropriate it was. And once they found out how inappropriate he was, he didn't think people were smart enough to realize that he is responsible not just for his family, but for all the families in Texas that he's been elected to represent. And he thinks you're so stupid that you shouldn't hold him responsible. Instead, you should feel for him because he was trying to make things right for all the families, for his own family, the way you would. But there's a difference, Ted. At the same time, when you're going on your BS show called The Verdict and telling everyone the Republicans are the party of the working class. We're the party that is, he literally said this on his show like a month and a half ago, The Verdict. He's like, we are the party of the blue collar worker, of the truck driver, of the waitress. And the left, the Democrats are the party of the elite, the rich elite. And it's like, Ted, you just completely contradicted that by flying off to the Ritz-Carlton at $300 a night while other people froze, man, in another country. So he is still to this moment trying to get away with it.
He is true, and I mean, look, the argument is that first of all, it's bad enough that you're sending your kids to Mexico during this. That is both elitist and also it's a there's the storm and there's the pandemic. It's bad for both those reasons. You shouldn't do it. But then on top, he has to explain why he was there. So the idea that you need to fly internationally to drop them off isn't a thing. Either they're old enough and independent enough to go on this trip, or they're not. Like so they can't make it on the plane, but you're gonna leave them in Mexico alone? So are they independent enough or are they not? And it's a lie anyway. First of all, if it wasn't a lie, how elitist that you can afford to internationally drop off your kids, but it's not true. He was originally gonna be staying until Saturday. He was gonna stay there Wednesday night, he was gonna stay there Thursday night, he was gonna stay there Friday night. That's just a trip internationally, that's not dropping off. Now, he changed his return time to Thursday only after the criticism. You don't drop them off for 3 days. That's a full vacation. And I guarantee in the end, they're probably gonna return on Saturday. It was probably a family trip where they were going down together. They were gonna come back together. It is such an obvious lie. And these like cast aside, like critics are trying to paint this as something that it's not. No, everybody knows exactly what this is. There are some people temporarily, like people on Fox News, but not all of them. Ben Shapiro, Matt Gaetz, who are gonna be like, how could anyone criticize him? As if every one of those wouldn't do that. If AOC like took an afternoon to go to Trader Joe's during a storm in New York, they would make a full day's show out of it. So they don't get to pretend that they wouldn't be criticizing other politicians when they already have, when Ted Cruz already has. It's the most obvious thing in the world.
Yeah, and you know how it would go. You can hear it. You can hear him say, "Oh, I understand the instinct to get away from it. I've had it. I would have had it. That instinct, but you just don't leave your constituents to freeze to death. These elitists aren't just going anywhere. They're taking their family to the Four Seasons. It must be nice. The Ritz-Carlton in Cancun. And not just that, mentioning how good the security is at the hotel so that the local riffraff doesn't get at you." Like that's what it is. That's what he would say. He said it before. Oh, the hypocrisy is unchecked. And when he got caught for a previous attack, when he got called out, it's so crazy that this is the one that he knows it so bad he can't like admit to it. With the previous issue of the blackouts themselves, when he got called out for attacking the people of California, he literally just tweeted like no defense with a shrug emoji. He did a shrug emoji. And Ted Cruz, on seeing that, would say, "Oh, it must be nice for you to be so flip about the people dying in the streets of your state that you can put a shrug emoji. I think this is a little bit more serious than a shrug emoji." And I think the responsible thing to do is to say, if you're so happy about being in Mexico, why don't you stay there? Like that's exactly what
he would say. Exactly that line. Exactly that line. Now, like a lot of people in the chat are giving you credit for your impersonation. I will only add, it is a good Cruz impression, but it might be a better church lady impression. I think it's slightly better church lady. But anyway, you're totally right. Now John, I want to throw out.
Who is it that might put that idea in your mind?
That's pretty
I don't know. Well. Who is it that might make John say that I sound like the church lady when I'm doing a Ted Cruz impression? Could it be Satan?
That's pretty good. Okay, now Ted Cruz facing a lot of criticism. I want to just really fast throw out a few additional details, a few terrible things that Cruz has done, one nice thing that Cruz did, and one nice thing that someone else did because of what Cruz did. So let's throw some details at you. So the first is that apparently Ted Cruz, when he and his family decided to go down old South America way, and there's a weird reference to Verse of Ellen. Anyway, he left his dog behind, his poodle. Like, now understand, the dog is not totally alone. There's apparently a security guard or something like that. So the dog presumably will get food for the multiple nights that he was gonna stay in Mexico. But they've also told us and confirmed that the house has no power and is freezing cold, and they left a poodle alone. Now, I like, I wonder at what point, like, who does he hate more? Does he hate the American people more? Does he hate the dog kingdom more? But this is a guy who is incompatible with multiple forms of mammalian life.
There's once you have a poodle in a disaster, there is no upside for you arguing that you're a man of the people. Because you either leave the poodle or you take the poodle, in which case you're treating the poodle better than your constituents.
Exactly. Now, imagine if instead of him chauffeuring his kids to Mexico, what if he had sent, I don't know, a person who had no power in Texas down there? What if he had sent 5 people? What if he had sent 20 people to help them out? Now, he could have done that. He's rich. He could do it with his own money, or he could have done it with by raising money. He's a senator there. He could have raised money to give people aid if they decided to stay here, or he could have sent them down to Cancun. And I know that's true because AOC has done that.
Yeah.
AOC has now raised more than $2 million to help people in Texas who are still suffering, who don't have food, who don't have drinkable water, who don't have heat. Like, if a congresswoman from New York can do that, presumably the senator of that state could do it. But him and all of his defenders are acting like, well, of course he should go to Mexico. There's literally nothing he could do to help.
Which is insane because there's also reports that the federal government sent like 60 generators and tens of thousands of gallons or whatever of diesel fuel to the border, being like, hey guys, can the state now take it over because that's how it works? Here it is. We're ready for you. And it took the state, if they haven't done it yet, it took them hours to figure out how to do that. And Ted Cruz seems like he would be a really good person to try to coordinate between the federal government and the state, since that's the point of senators.
Yeah,
like I hate to break it to you.
By the way,
yeah.
Some of the mayors apparently have said that Governor Abbott still hasn't reached out to them. It's been like 5 days. Biden has. AOC is going to Texas, but Governor Abbott hasn't reached out to the mayors of major cities that have people dying in the cold.
The only better job than what I've always said is the science guy or girl on a procedural cop show. You know, the one who just like the best job in the world is that, where you like look at a screen and go, I've got it. And then you like roll. That's the best job in the world. The second best job in the world is a Republican politician, because the purpose is for you to not have any responsibilities and not ever have to do anything and say, listen, I'm here in the government to make it not work. That's it. And I am very proud of that. And that's what Abbott is doing. And they're like very successfully not helping people. It's so insane. And I just want to say one extra thing about Ted Cruz. How much elitist hubris do you have when you don't realize the opportunity as a politician in this case to be the hero, to be the good guy? He thought he was so safe and he had so little regard for his constituents that he wasn't even gonna do some BS photo op where he's like handing out blankets. Like that didn't even occur to him until he was, it didn't occur to him when his kids were saying, hey, can we go? It did not occur to him when they booked the tickets. It did not occur to him until people started tweeting about it, that he should not have regret because of what he did wrong. But as we all know in our heart of hearts, pretend like he has regret because only for the purpose of getting out of trouble.
Yeah.
And now he's trying to jujitsu blame onto someone else or public favor toward him by playing the victim,
playing the dad card,
as with his kid at his kid's own expense.
Yeah, although maybe that you just pointed out was actually him rising above himself and becoming a better man, as I will demonstrate. Because I said there's something nice that he did, and so we're gonna turn to that right now, really fast. Because apparently, group text messages sent by Heidi Cruz, Ted Cruz's wife, show that the family's controversial Cancun getaway was a last-minute decision, one that came after she invited other friends in what was an attempt on her part to flee their freezing home. The chats were leaked to the New York Times and included in a Thursday evening story revealed that the senator's spouse made the pitch for coming along with her family, noting that the hotel where she would be staying has plenty of rooms. Well, it's a pandemic, and that families can get a COVID test before they return. She wrote, anyone can or want to leave for the week? We may go to Cancun. The senator's wife also pitched a direct flight and hotels with capacity. Seriously, and then they talked about the security and the cost and all that. So this is the nice thing. You need to understand that Ted Cruz, as we've seen demonstrated for years, will throw his wife under the bus, will not defend her when she's attacked. He doesn't give a damn about her. But in this case, even though this was apparently all her idea, he did the very nice thing of throwing his kids under the bus for a change instead. Because apparently it wasn't their idea at all. It was his wife, and he's spent 2 days lying to the national press saying his kids are to blame for the terrible decisions that he's made.
Well, okay, a couple things. First, and then I'll forget the rest. But the group texts were leaked because, like, Ted and Heidi Cruz are telling people that it was the friend's fault. It was their kids' friend's fault. The original story was the kids' friends asked them to go on a trip. And the people.
And that's not true at all.
And that's not true. And so the parents of those kids were like, oh, really? You're throwing us under the bus, saying that my nightmare kids peer pressured you into stuff. No, the only reason we want to go to Cancun is because it seems like Heidi might pay for it. And also, I want to get the hell out of here. And originally when I heard the story, I thought that Ted Cruz is, I believed him, that the family friends asked the Cruzes to come on a vacation. And I think the reason that they did, I thought the reason they did that was because they're probably sitting around going like, oh, Ted and Heidi Cruz are always asking to come on vacation with us and they're a damn night. When should we ask them to come with us? Oh, I get it. When we're all skipping town during a giant crisis where people are dying, because even Ted Cruz isn't depraved enough to leave his constituents in the middle of a frozen tundra. And I thought they were like, oh God, he did. He came with us. Oh my God, I underestimated his depravity. But in this situation, I think the friends, because their friends leaked it. Do you have any idea what it must be like to be friends with Ted and Heidi Cruz? Like it must be horrible. And so they're like, they upon them, their children getting thrown under the bus by the Cruz brood. They said, hey, I'm leaking this to the press because F you guys, you're a bunch of damn liars.
Now, one more thing and then we got to move on because we got a lot of other stories really fast. I want to close the circle on this whole thing. So we've been talking about how going it all is crazy. Going to chaperone your kids is crazy. But what you need to understand is Heidi Cruz apparently went. There was already a parent going on the trip.
Yeah.
Even if you were gonna have a chaperone, there's already one. So your argument that you had to be a good dad by going makes even less sense than it did before, you massive liar. Anyway, now with that, really fast, I want to, what were you gonna say?
Okay,
I'm gonna read a couple of super chats and then we gotta move on to other news. First from Tony Forster, who says, me, mom and dad got COVID vaccine today. Plus didn't know Ben Mankiewicz voiced in the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror 31. That's awesome. I didn't know which one he was in. I knew that he was in one of them. Michelle says, hi from Austin. We finally have power back, but it's now $9,000 per megawatt hour. I think that is up from 20 to 30. This disaster just keeps on giving. Jesus.
Jerry Jones, the guy who owns the, Jerry Jones, the guy who owns the Cowboys.
I knew that.
His energy company, Oklahoma Securities of Energy or whatever, had like a 32,000% increase in its stock price throughout, or in the.
I think I'm pitching
price.
That for the main show. We'll see about that.
There too. So crazy.
Let's see. Forrest Dudley says, hey John, I'm super mad that I missed the tier 3 Q&A yesterday. I had some questions all planned, but I got Cyberpunk 2077 on Wednesday and didn't fall asleep until around 7:30 a.m. On that note, I should probably sleep now. Well, look, you and I as gamers know that getting a big RPG like that will ruin your life for at least a few days. This is now further evidence of that. But the Q&A is up on the channel if you'd like to go watch it. We talked about a lot of different stuff in there. Shut up. Doc Daniel says, I turned 50 years old today, so happy birthday, John. I'm proud to be the over the hill dungeon master dragon. Doc Daniels, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Chakuseki says, new favorite Ted Cruz nickname, A, Flying Ted, B, Fled Cruz, C, Beach Possum. I like Beach Possum, that's pretty good.
He's too toady to be a possum. I hate to disagree with everyone. Because possums have a lot of circles. He's a
That's true. More of a term.
Okay. He's a rectangle.
Jaquan says, "Hi John, tried to catch you on the pre-show. I'm a truck driver from South Carolina, and I listen to you every day while going down the road. Not all truckers are Republicans. LOL. Can I be crypto dragon? You can, but just don't talk to me about Bitcoin, please. But you're awesome. But I don't want to. I'm never gonna get it, and I don't want to understand it."
Hey John, my friend Matthew bought Bitcoin when it was 50 cents, and he just bought a mansion in Encino.
Okay. Yes. So I will add to the list one more person who's doing much better than me. It's a long list.
Sucks, John. It's so bad.
LMB says Cruz could have tossed paper towels from the tarmac. So much winning. That would have been awesome. Anyway, and really fast. Oh my God, the gifted subs. Aximom gifted one. Kelly June gifted one on Twitch. Shoegaze Dragon Georgie gifted 5, as well as Brandy Lou gifted 5. Insomnia Noir sent 1. Streaming. Wow. Streaming and creaming.
Streaming and creaming, John.
I read it. Okay, I read it.
Streaming and creaming. 2 streams, 2 cream.
Gifted 1. Jesus. Robot Has Feelings gifted 1. Bob Christina resubscribed for the 2nd month. Thank you for that. And others as well. And we will read more, but there's a billion stories we gotta get to. So here's what we're gonna do, Brett. These next 2 stories, we're gonna go through them smoothly, okay?
John Iadarola does not care about vaccines in Florida. He wants to fly right through this story. And
the D block is Cancun.
I get it.
And I desperately want to be in it. But anyway, no, I only care enough that we're doing 2 days worth of coverage of this story. Okay, let's move on to this now. Ron DeSantis' vaccine distribution scandal has entered its 2nd day with new details of how bad, how biased the choice to set up this pop-up vaccination clinic in a very hoity-toity private planned community actually was. But this time, Ron DeSantis, while still the bad guy, doesn't seem like the worst individual person in this story. So let's transition now to Manatee County Commissioner Vanessa Bao, who admitted yesterday that she, quote, wanted to make sure certain people were on the list for vaccination after emails revealed that she directed county officials to create a list to let her and others jump the line. So it's not just that they're letting the rich folk do this or just putting it in an area for rich folk. She wants to be at the head of the line. In response to criticism that county officials had only permitted residents from the 2 richest zip codes in the county to get vaccinated at the event, Bao further admitted that she picked the zip codes herself. So yesterday, we found out that they went into this place in this county, and they said, in that county, we're gonna go to the richest little areas, which are connected to a couple that gave Ron DeSantis $900,000 over 2 years. So that is terrible. Ron DeSantis comes in and says, oh, you don't want it in your county? Well, then I'll take it out. As if that was what the criticism was at all, that the whole county doesn't want vaccines. That's not remotely what anyone was talking about. Now we found out that the person who directly set it up not only picked those zip codes, but also had a VIP list that she was on to get vaccinated early. This is one of the most corrupt stories of the entire pandemic, a pandemic that has been full of corruption from top to bottom.
I'm gonna put elitism inside your elitism inside your elitism.
The turducken of elite corruption.
It is, listen, you're all chosen by me, and man, you're the fantastic, the golden manatees. But we need a subsection of diamond crusted platinum golden manatees. And so like that's something I want to be there for, is when they thought that they were all in that zip code. The people who watched Fixer Upper and were like, we'll get the worst house in the best neighborhood. People right on the county line be like, we're made it. We're in 05923. Yes, it happened. And only to then say, where's my vaccine? And then them to say, oh, I'm sorry. It's just Kathleen and Claude who are on the list right now. I am so sorry for you.
I hate those two so much. 100%. And I'm glad that I've recently started watching Fixer Upper, so I got that reference you made. By the way, Streamin' and Creamin' says my Twitch channel is an escape from me living in Florida. That doesn't make it right though. But anyway, yeah, you're right. Like no, you just because you live in a county with the richies doesn't mean you're anything other than the peasant they want you to be. But anyway, look, there's other stuff. It involves a real estate developer, Rex Jensen, who's involved in this and was a big donor too. He's gonna get to cut the line. Others get to cut it by being on this VIP list, which is just madness. But anyway, look, there's other details in all of that. It's all available if you're interested. But this is one of the problems with like when Biden says we came in and there was no vaccine plan and people lose it. Like I think it was, who's the guy who just got the new Fox Business show? Anyway, he says, how dare they say that? That's insane. We had a plan, but no, you didn't have a plan. The plan was we sent it to the states and the states figure it out. And look, that's faster and more efficient in some way, having them all decide it, but it led to a lot of problems. And now it's also leading to corruption. And the thing is, this one has been discovered. But if you give humans access to, they get to decide who gets it first. How many Frodos are there out there who will not be corrupted by that power? How many Samwise Gamgees? I think there's a lot more, like stewards of Gondor. That I'm going too far with this. I think, look, most people are going to be too tempted by that power, and you're never going to get rid of all of the corruption. But you are giving it to people to dole out to political donors, to themselves. It's insane.
Yeah. And this will happen, and this is why I like progressivism over any other like governing premise, because progressivism is just all about getting rid of that kind of corruption, is to have checks on that kind of corruption, whether it be in a capitalist system, a socialist system, a communist system, and an anarcho-communist system. It has to be there. It has to be a check on what we all can look around and recognize it is that temptation. And when they say, I love it, and it's Kudlow, right? That's the one who had the show. Yeah. So Kudlow, when they say we had
Navarro,
plan,
but it was Kudlow. Yeah.
Yeah. When they say we had a plan, it's like, yes, my plan was my friends. Like that's not. Yes, you're right. Let me rephrase. You had a terrible plan, or your plan was we give it to the states and just deal with it. We don't want any responsibility whatsoever. But you still need to have responsibility because you guys are the ones with the vaccines. So you have the power, but with that power should come some sense of responsibility. And if you're not gonna take that seriously, then it's up to us, people in the media, and just the general public to call that out when it happens. It's horrifying.
Yeah,
but not shocking.
And look, one of the good things about doing this live and having a chat is I can get fact checked. I know that Frodo was eventually corrupted by the ring. I get it. That's a spoiler though. I don't want to ruin the story for everyone.
Anyway, it just came out.
And Sam would have too. I love him. He's the true hero of the story, but he would have been corrupted. He only had to carry Frodo for a little bit. Anyway, so hopefully, I mean, look, what's funny is that in New York, after some of the hiding of information about nursing home deaths, Cuomo might lose his sort of unilateral control to set pandemic policy. I haven't heard about anything like that about DeSantis yet. If DeSantis is doling out vaccines to his big political donors, I would imagine you'd strip him there. But the issue is that one is a state controlled by Democrats, one is a state controlled by Republicans. Those Republicans, they're not interested in chastising Ron DeSantis. They're interested in getting put on the VIP list. Anyway, let's immediately roll through to this next story. Also an important update. Throughout this week, we've been talking about student loan debt cancellation and the scary prospect that Joe Biden not only is not gonna push for $50,000 like we've sort of suspected that he would, and not only that he is advancing this idea that the reason he's not doing that is because somehow he's legally allowed to cancel 10,000 but not 50. It's not even that he apparently isn't even talking about doing it via executive order, which doesn't really make sense with the whole thing where I can do one level but not the other, but we're doing it through legislation anyway, and it's definitely not gonna get through the Senate. It's that they're not even really pushing so much for it to happen just yet. They're gonna do some commission and then they're gonna come back at some point. So there's been multiple retreats, but in this segment, what I want to do is give you a little bit of information about how bad the crisis actually is, who is being affected by it, and how much those different numbers of cancellation could actually help people. So really fast, canceling $10,000 of student loan debt would completely wipe out the debts of more than 15 million borrowers whose current balances are less than or equal to that amount, obviously. So that's 15 million people, that is a lot. An additional 23 million borrowers owe balances of 10,000 to 60,000. So it would more than double if you extend the limit almost up to where Schumer and AOC and others are talking about it. 7 million borrowers have federal debt of 60,000 or higher, which is going to be some expensive schools, some grad student debt, medical school, law school, stuff like that. So even above what anyone in elected office is really calling for, you do have millions of additional borrowers. It does really tail off after that 50 to 60,000 point, but it is a lot. We're gonna have other numbers on how it's swelled, who's being affected. But Brett, I've thrown out a lot of stuff there. What do you think?
I think that this would be a tax break to the future wealthy, and I think we should do it. As a conservative, I think we should reclassify student debt as a tax on education, because these folks, just because they went to school, rather than having to pay back the principal, and that being it, they are saddled with years and years of interest, which, let's face it, is a tax. They're paying a tax on their investment. And as a conservative myself, I think that is abhorrent. These are the future elites because they went to college, and we need to protect them. We need to protect them by taking the yoke of debt off of them, because they are the business. If corporations are people, and corporations can declare bankruptcy and unsaddle themselves from that debt, why can't people be corporations? You've invested that capital into the business of your mind. Why can't they just declare bankruptcy?
That's research and development right there.
But like, what the hell is this? What the hell are future panels and studies gonna tell us about student debt that we didn't know already? The benefit of the benefit of the benefit of the doubt that I'm giving to people who want to do this is they're afraid that we'll overheat the economy, cause runaway inflation, and they just want to delay this until a point where they feel like they aren't doing like a bunch of different stimuli at once. But I know that's not true. I know they just don't want to have, they don't want this on their hands. They're fine with leaving it as is, and they don't want to have to answer questions like, all right, so if we forgive all these current student loans, what are we going to do to the future? There's a lot of people that we have to convince to go along with it, and I'm not sure, but there's so many people who would be happy and able to contribute to the economy if you forgave this debt.
Yeah, able to literally contribute via the money that is right now just going to a couple of student loan debt processing companies. They'd be able to potentially move, potentially start businesses. There's a lot of things that they'd be able to do. And they would also be, like, from a pragmatic political perspective, they would be very thankful to the party that actually did something about the crisis. So let me give you some more information. And this is about the growth of debt over the past decade or so. There's a new study. You can get the details at Common Dreams. But in 2019, 18 to 35-year-olds with student loan debt owed nearly $35,000 on average, compared to just over $28,000 a decade earlier. So it's grown by, let's say, 25% with my bad math in that time. Back in 2009, there were only 32 million federal borrowers. In 2019, that number swelled to 43 million. So the average amount of debt is going up, even as the number of people with the debt is going up. And by the way, you can look at this just a broad view, but then also once you break down into certain demographics, it's even worse. So this study that we're talking about notes marked racial disparities in student debt, with Black students suffering both the largest increase over time and the highest median amount owed in 2019 at $20,236. Asian students experienced the worst debt inequality in 2019. Although the median debt was $18,500, their average debt balance was nearly $39,000. And related to this, Color of Change, a racial justice group, released a poll earlier this week showing that 2/3 of Black voters strongly support canceling student loan debt. The survey also found that 40% of Black voters would not vote for a candidate who opposes canceling student loan debt. So that is both a strong signal to the Democratic Party and its ostensible leader, Joe Biden, about how certain segments of the population will go forward politically from this. But it's also a sign to activists in this area, progressives more broadly, that making this a big political issue could potentially work. As we get towards the midterm elections, this is something that's actually going to lead people to support or oppose candidates.
Yeah, but the sad thing, so that's the survey found that 40% of black voters would not vote for a candidate who opposed canceling student loan debt. In a primary, maybe. You know what I mean? Like that's always already been the calculation. But
let's do that then.
When it comes down to it, yeah. I just like they always bank on they're not going to lose those votes when it really counts. They're always going to have it. So, I mean, the strategy hopefully everybody looks at is having more people on our side in Congress and building that caucus over time and having the ability then to say, hey, we all agree. But really pointing out so many people when you ask them, like politics is difficult, but messaging needs to be prioritized. And to alleviate the burden of how difficult messages can be, why don't you just focus on stuff most Americans agree with? And there's plenty there to create a platform out of. Just go with it.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. The ground that this is going to be fought on is like 100% the primaries, but let's do that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna read a couple of quick super chats before we move into our last couple of stories. Brianna Circus sent in a super chat saying, not sure if you guys covered this at all, but major kudos to the Texas game warden for saving all the cold stunned sea turtles. It's nice to get a little good news in this dumpster fire weather news. I had not seen that, but thank you for sending it. I did see that there were a bunch of primates in some sort of research lab that had died as well. There's a poodle that like might end up dying.
Yeah, it's at Ted Cruz's house. John, we're all just primates in some research lab. You know what I mean?
That's deep, man. That's deep. Anyway, Electric Blue Omelet Dragon says, full disclosure, Fridays, John and Brett's BSing before the show starts is one of my favorite parts of the show. Were you in the studio listening to us?
Must be. Check the gate.
How else could you have heard it? Hero of Light, the Keyblade Dragon says, happy Friday, John and Brett. It's my birthday tomorrow. Got any advice for a soon-to-be 27-year-old who's about to move with family and doesn't know what he wants to do with his life yet? That's broad. I will say you're 27. You really do have all the time in the world. Don't worry. I've used up like 50% of the rest of my life, but you're good. Just survive this dark time and find something you like doing and find a way to get paid to do it. It's difficult, but that's what we were able to do, thankfully.
This is financial advice. Buy Dogecoin now. It is
buy Dogecoin.
This is financial advice. Follow it. I'm just kidding. This is not financial advice. Don't buy.
Neither of us are capable of providing financial advice, even to ourselves.
I'm fine.
Okay. Buwijab says Valheim is amazing, John. I really wanted to ask you if you play it, but now I know. Yes, I've only been playing it for a couple of days, but I do play it. Let's see. Florida Dragon says, happy 50th birthday to me. Happy 19 years for TYT. Been watching TYT for 10 years and a member of TYT.com. Just joined as a member on YouTube. Thanks for helping keep me mostly sane all these years. Happy birthday and thank you for that. You've actually been watching longer than I've been working here, which I think is a smaller and smaller fraction of the audience. Lazy Peon says, was too hard to pick a garbage person this week, so I'm going with a colleague. She said, quote, it's better to just let everyone get infected and let the people who die so we can end this thing, but I still want the vaccine. Wow. There are some terrible people.
Of course, that's a Louis C.K. bit. Of course. But maybe at least that person knows that at least Louis C.K. knows it's a joke.
Yeah. And finally, Fiona says, John, these people aren't Boromir, well-meaning and fallible, but Saruman, used to having power and eager to expand it. That is true. I apologize for besmirching Sean Bean. May he rest in peace. The actor's alive, but all of his characters are dead. Anyway, Ghost Dog over on Twitch gives it 10 tier 1 subs. Thank you very much for that. Let's see, Thrice 3 subscribed for the 5th month and leaves us a comment, streaming, not creaming. Great, thank you. Equanimity subscribed for the 6th month. Miss Ahmed for the 2nd. Minnesota Patior subscribed for the first month. Thank you for that. Ghost Dog for the 2nd month. And said if he bought return ticket as he got there, it makes all of what he said was a lie. Yeah, well, we already know he was gonna come back on Saturday and he had to change his ticket to Thursday. He's garbage. He should be our garbage person. He just can't be because we've already talked about him so much. Anyway, with that, Brett, you ready to move into our last non-garbagey topic?
Sure.
Kind of about a garbage person. Okay. This is a story about Lauren Boebert and how the bar for being a conservative on social media and having a reputation as being someone who can own the libs is like super low. It's buried deep beneath the earth, but it still apparently takes just a little bit of work. And she came up short when Bill Gates said recently that I do think all rich countries should move to 100% synthetic beef. He was asked a question about how countries can help reduce methane emissions when it comes to food production. And he goes on to say, you can get used to the taste difference. And the claim is they're gonna make it taste even better over time. Now, I think that this is a perfectly worthwhile conversation to have, but Bill Gates is the one having it. You know, the guy who put the bots in your bloodstream. So conservatives lose their mind over him. So she responded by tweeting, "Come and take it, Bill," with a big picture of a steak. Now, I don't believe he was saying he's going to come and take away your beef. I think he's talking about providing an alternative, but she wanted to immediately make it a thing where everything is libs coming to take something from you, not providing market-based competition to existing products. It's they're gonna come in your house and take it. So right off the bat, Brett, what do you think about this?
Let the right one in. You just invited Bill Gates to your house. He shows up. He installs Windows on all your Macs. He does a full-on Citrix situation. No, this is so funny. I know what happens with this photo, but
Yes.
that beef looks so good, though. Good God, it's so marbled. I think it might be a little tough around that, but in the center of that.
Well, I will say that beef looks almost too good to be true. And that's because it was too good to be true. It wasn't a steak that she had or has that she's worried he's gonna take. She just went and took a photo off of, what is this website? Lobels? It's their USDA prime dry aged bone-in rib steak. It looks like a photo, like a picture, like a steak good enough for a photo because it is. It's just, and like the conservatives don't care. But it's all just so fake. Does she even eat steak? Who knows? Who knows? And I doubt she cares. Her fans certainly don't care. It's all just this performative castle doctrine applied to all of politics BS.
I'm a victim. Google it. Google. I want to be a victim now. He's coming. He says, I do think all rich countries should move to 100% synthetic beef. Like, sure, it's fine. Maybe people will want to do that. And if it tastes the same as regular beef, what's the damn problem? Like, I don't see a problem with it. As long if it tastes the same, and now I can accomplish my dream of just having a cow as a pet, like in City Slickers. That's all I want. And what's the damn difference, dude? Just let it happen. I don't understand the come and take it aspect of it for any other until you realize that she just wants to be a victim. She is the QAnon representative. She's one of the 2 QAnon representatives, and she thinks the reason that she is following anything Bill Gates is because she wants to be the person who feeds into the conspiracy theory narrative that Bill Gates wants to put microchips in your bloodstream to monitor your behavior, when in reality, guys, he's already in your phone, which monitors your behavior. Like, I don't know. There's already a terrible thing to complain about. Why are you going deeper? But it's not for that. It's just for community building. It's just for being part of this horrible, terrible, no good, very bad movement of people who want to pretend they're smarter than you, when in reality, the things they're doing couldn't be dumber.
Yeah. Everything has to be, you are under assault, we're under siege, they're coming for our stuff. When all it is he's not even making the beef. He's not saying they should take the beef. He's just saying maybe people should make it, and if people like it, they can buy it. That's all it is. And that's all it is for so many of these products. But conservatives who love to routinely say that the damn lefties and the SJWs are doing this performative stuff, they will actually oppose superior products specifically just to say, no, we want our bad stuff because the lefties came up with the good stuff. It's not, I'm making a choice between a gas car and electric car. I don't want electric cars to do well because it's something about the environment. It's not, I'm okay with a mix of energy policy that goes with whatever is most cost effective. It's screw the turbines because Greta Thunberg. That's what it is on all of these things. You know what? True about fake meat. Some of it's good and some of it's not. So there are fake meats that I eat in place of real ones, and there are real meats that I eat right now. Everybody gets to make that choice, but I approach it as a rational person following my taste buds. They say, and it's not even their actual behavior, but their social media behavior is anything that can be even tangentially related to some sort of pursuit of a social good is a natural evil that you need to oppose, even if it means you use light bulbs that like cost way more to operate. You have to get a car that's gonna cost way more in terms of fueling it, and the repairs are gonna be way more expensive. You should pay that extra cost because you wanna screw over the lefties.
I love the word synthetic in all of this, where she's like, listen, Bill Gates, I don't want you faking the beef. And to prove that in my argument, here's me faking the beef. She used that's fake meat. That is not real. That is a synthetic beef tweet. She Googled it. That's not in your house. You're faking it, you psycho.
Yeah.
It makes me so happy.
Super fast. It's just all of it is so fake. It's BS and it's bad for you, as George Carlin said. This, what she just did, the fake beef, comes after she did her fake Second Amendment commercial where she made it seem as if she was carrying a gun through DC, but she actually wasn't. She was lying about carrying the gun. It's also not that long after Scott Walker, who tweeted out a photo of a pizza that he was saying he had just gone out and gotten and how everyone should go out, when it was a pizza that he'd eaten in 2019 and still had a picture on his phone of. So he was lying about the pizza to pretend he's going outdoors when he apparently isn't. But I just wanted to throw this out in case you didn't know, because there's a lot of meat related stuff related to Lauren Boebert that you should know. As someone pointed out in the chat, she should be a little bit less worried about synthetic beef and a little bit more worried about her husband revealing his 100% natural beef to minors. Look it up, it actually happened. But then also, she actually owned restaurants. I don't know if you knew that, she owned restaurants. Now, some of them had some serious issues when a number of people that had been dining there got violently ill. The main culprit was apparently found to be her pork sliders, and those who ate them reported symptoms including bloody diarrhea, abdominal pain, nausea, and chills. Health authorities determined that the tainted pork was caused by improper food safety practices of the unlicensed food providers. They apparently had no cold holding or hot holding procedures to maintain safe food temperatures. They didn't maintain temperature logs. They used their bare hands to contact ready-to-eat foods. They didn't have a hand washing station, and there were no barrier for protection from insects, which there really should be, because I don't want insects eating her meat and getting bloody diarrhea as a result of that. So will someone think of the insects? Anyway, I don't trust her with meat.
Smokehouse 1776 is also a great title because it's all smoke. They're just like, we're just gonna throw up smoke and then put like patriotism next to it. Didn't she also work at Shooters, which was like Hooters but with guns?
Yeah. And we're gonna have to skip the other gun related thing for time, but yeah. So how is Smokehouse 1776 not like a novel Glenn Beck wrote or something like? Oh God, they're so predictable. Anyway, don't trust her with meat. Keep your meat away from her. Go synthetic. She probably hasn't touched it. And by the way, after the last year of like the pork handling places and all of that, that should make everyone a little bit hesitant about this stuff. Anyway, with that, Brett, are you ready to move into this thing, remembering that we have our little time cutoff point?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so heads up to the director. Who's going? Are you going first or am I going first?
You do it. John, do it. John, do it.
Okay, I will. So in one moment, we're gonna start this thing. Okay, let's do this. It's the end of the week, and so it's time to take out the trash. So our garbage can is hungry for trashy humans, and we've got some. This week, I have two. This was suggested to me by producer Sophie. And these are my garbage people. These kids dressed up as grandmas. Not them actually, but that's very representative of the garbage people today, because right now across the country, there are vaccines being distributed, but most people can't get access to them because they are being held for people who need them the most. Really older people who are at a greater risk of dying from COVID, those with pre-existing conditions. But if you're not in that group, what are you supposed to do? You supposed to do the moral thing and wait? No, all you need to do is powder your face, throw on a wig, and maybe you can pretend to be a grandma too. And that apparently happened in Florida. With bonnets on their heads and bespectacled faces, 2 young women pretending to be seniors so they could get the coronavirus vaccine. And it seems their ruse may have actually worked at least one time. And that is because Dr. Raul Pino from the Florida Department of Health in Orange County said the pair was busted when they tried to get their second shot on Wednesday at the Orange County Convention Center. He says, yesterday we realized a couple of young ladies came dressed up as grannies to get vaccinated for the second time. So I don't know how they escaped the first time, but they came to get vaccinated. They had on bonnets, gloves, glasses, the whole thing, and they were probably in their 20s. But vaccinators noticed they looked funny and stopped them. So they had apparently dressed up like grandmas, and it worked the first time. They got their first vaccines, evidently, Brett.
I love this. I saw this earlier this morning.
You did? I did.
Absolutely fantastic. Hey, good work if you can get it, man. Go get it.
Yeah.
Go do it. Yeah, let real grandmas die, because this is America, and you need to look out for number one. Hey, they're gonna be protecting grandma in the future if they themselves don't get sick, and it turns out that this also protects against the spread of it. I like the idea of they looked funny.
I wish there was a photo.
Every image that you can summon to mind is absolutely hilarious. And I understand that this is in the midst of a pandemic where horrible, horrible things have happened. Yes. But this is just straight up funny.
I think, look, I think I know what they're like. They're not thinking, screw those grannies, I got to get mine. I'm sure what they're thinking is, there's lots of vaccine. What could it possibly hurt? But as of right now, there are still shortages. I mean, in a very real sense, it probably is gonna stop other people from getting it. But more importantly, it's not your turn. It's just not your turn. It sucks to have to wait. I desperately wish that I could get vaccinated so that in theory I could go back to the gym and stuff before there's nothing left of my body to even bring to the gym. I really wish that, but it's not, and you can't skip it. It's not up to us to deceive doctors, skip in front of healthcare workers and the elderly, people with pre-existing conditions. And it would be one thing if, like, they were doing it because they desperately need to get back out into the field to do charity work or something. But I don't think that's what it is. I think they want to, I don't know, like go to bars on the beach again or something. Like, I don't think it's for an amazing self-sacrificing reason. The only silver lining to this entire story is that I am shocked that there are young people in Florida who actually want to get vaccinated. That's kind of a good sign.
Yeah, good for them. I'm proud of these.
What about you, Brett?
Yeah, here's my person. My garbage person of the week is Ted Cruz adjacent, but it's not Ted Cruz. Now, when Ted Cruz's news broke and the scandal kept snowballing, everyone in their right mind realized, well, Ted Cruz is obviously at fault. He obviously did a terrible thing, and he's obviously to blame, except for one person. What? Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity said, I always lie to my audience, so I'm gonna have Ted Cruz on to lie to his audience and pretend like there was absolutely nothing wrong with this. It's just the media overblowing everything. And speaking of blowing, here is Sean Hannity pleasuring Ted Cruz.
And you were fully and completely engaged, and I know that from my own reporting and my own conversations with you and Governor Abbott and with Joe Bastardi. Yeah, I didn't see much criticism there early lid that Joe Biden put on things, while the people in Texas, you could use federal help. But there's always that double standard. You made the right call coming back. You also can be a father. There's also something called technology. We also know what teleworking is. And I think there's a lot of sanctimony and politics being played in this attack. And
there is a lot of sanctimony in politics getting played, and it's played every day on Sean Hannity's show as he overblows. He keeps talking about Benghazi and Hillary Clinton. I don't know if it was him, but on Fox News, there was someone who was running a graphic that was like, Joe Biden asks, where am I? When Joe Biden was obviously saying something about like, it is very strange to live in the White House and have people wait on you all the time. But the sanctimony and the overblowing, and there's a thing called being, speaking figuratively, and a rhetorical question that this guy uses every day, but wants to pretend that other people aren't using. But the instinct of Sean Hannity to come in here when he is obviously being a hypocrite and just systematically do his, I don't know if it's like when he signed the contract with the devil, he knew that he was obligated thenceforth to launder images of completely dirty politicians, but he did it so in our face, in the middle of it all, and say that, oh, Ted Cruz was engaged with all of this. No, he wasn't. He was on a plane.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad. It's really nice of you to come back. It's like, well, you know what would have been nicer if he didn't go. And the sanctimony thing is just beyond forgiveness.
Exactly, and there's politics, and stop saying there's politics in politics. We know there's politics in politics. That's what's there. You don't get to claim that when it's inconvenient to you, it's just being political. Like, oh, Joe Biden is pushing for this policy. He's just being political. Yeah, that's what it is. It's just a stupid thing to claim. The thing about the technology, you know that Sean Hannity would, if Nancy Pelosi had flown to Vienna, he wouldn't be like, oh, that's cool. She's got Zoom, nothing to see here, no scandal. He wouldn't say that at all. Ted Cruz is lying.
And
garbage.
When the Austin mayor went away, like did Sean Hannity say, I'm glad he came back? Gavin Newsom, who I also think is garbage when he goes and flouts his own orders. Yeah, I think that's garbage. That's consistency. Nancy Pelosi with her $1 jillion refrigerator, I think that's garbage. That's consistency. But for Sean Hannity to get out there and say, oh, there's a double standard, you do that every day, every single day. And then he's attacking Biden nonstop. I get it, we all do it. But why isn't he saying the media is, oh, we at the media are just attacking Biden nonstop since the beginning of his term? It's because you know what game you're playing. And it's so boring.
Yeah, and the only other point is on, I believe it was that interview, he's doing his like preemptive. He only brought Ted Cruz on to defend him. That's it, not to find out what happened or what he's gonna do. And by the way, he's like, oh, why doesn't Joe Biden do federal aid to Texas? No, they are helping out Texas. Ted Cruz isn't. Federal politicians are trying to. But anyway, he in his little monologue about Ted Cruz said, and you know what, you were just going to drop him off and then immediately returning, that's not so bad. And then Ted Cruz started talking and Ted Cruz realized that he was originally gonna stay until Saturday. And that didn't change Sean Hannity's mind because Sean Hannity's mind is irrelevant. He was just saying things. It wasn't like, I think this is okay only because you're immediately returning. It's just about laundering. It's about a PR campaign for Ted Cruz. And you know what? It's politics and I won't accept it.
And as Alien Sock Puppet says in the chat, Sean Hannity can bloviate me.
Oh my God. Now, the community garbage person of the week is in. 36,000 of you voted. Jesus. Coming in at number 5 for the week at 2% of the vote is Michael van der Veen for baselessly claiming Dems altered evidence. That's one of Trump's impeachment lawyers. Coming in number 4 at 3% of the vote is Louis DeJoy for continuing to damage the postal service. It's a very good one. Number 3 at 16% of the vote is Fox News for blaming the Texas power outages on the Green New Deal. I think that should get more of the vote, but number 2 at 34% of the vote is Mitch McConnell for acquitting Trump and then saying he was guilty. But at number 1 at 46% of the vote is Ted Cruz for going on vacation while Texans suffer. There are worse organizational things and all that, but as an individual, that is really bad. And then you add on the poodle popsicle that he's gonna have at the end of the day too. Man, he's a piece of garbage. Well-deserved double win by Ted Cruz this week. And with that, Brett, thank you as always for joining us. Looking forward to doing Common Room with you later on.
I look forward to coming up with the questions we're going to discuss.
Head to Reddit anyway, but I will see you in our production meeting in just a few. Thank you as always.
Thank you.
And for those of you at home, I just want to read a couple more quick comments. There was one especially, I'm gonna start at Twitch. Shredding it up in Cancun Cruz says, I've retired the streamin' and creamin' moniker just for you, John. No, hold on. But back it up a sec. If you like the name, keep the name. You don't have to change it from me. You name yourself whatever you want. Sethian Rosen on Twitch says, we already have something like synthetic meat. Anyone looked at a McRib? That is a very good point. I don't think that nothing in the McRib has shared a room with a pig. Let's see, Blank Face Stare says, my only concern is if they'll ever get fake bacon to the levels of real bacon. That I'm not sure. They can't even get non-pork bacon to be like bacon. Like turkey bacon is not bacon. But there are some things that they do a great job on. I think that chicken in general, they've really nailed the fake stuff. Beyond Burgers are pretty good too. They do a good job on a lot of it. There are meatballs. I mean, meatballs are only like 13% meat anyway. There's a lot of stuff that's already really good and it's only gonna get better. Now over in the super chats, Big Gay Dragon, you're amazing, thank you. Dragon Song, yes, he says, Brett is pure magic today. Love you guys. Thank you for that. Let's see. Izzy says multiple studies show electric cars have a bigger carbon footprint than conventional combustion engine cars. Look, it's complex, so we don't have time to go all into it. I do not think that that is actually the case anymore, let alone in areas where the electricity that is generated is cleaner. And that's one of the great things about switching over more cars to it is as power generation becomes cleaner in states, the cars become cleaner too. With traditional combustion engine cars, that's not the case. You can switch all of the electricity over to solar. You're still gonna have cars consuming gasoline and burning it up. So it is complicated. It's not 100% a victory, but it is better. Anyway, let's see. Candace says, seems to me as the poverty gap grows, so does the amount of debt owed as well as the amount of people owing it. 100%, 100%. Shagaduche says, can we get a mention to Ted Cruz's dog being named Snowflake? That can't be true. His frozen popsicle cannot be named Snowflake. And even if it is, does that mean he named his dog like a term he uses to insult lefties? Why would you do that to your dog? You love your dog. You don't name it an insult. I don't understand that at all. Let's see. Made Money to Building says you get money just because of the Lord of the Rings references. Which Queen of Oakland Dragon is a Lord of the Rings reference as well? Faramir is my favorite character, by the way. A good character. In the extended edition. In the regular cut, there's just not much there. And finally, Michael says, greetings from Australia, Blue Wookiee Dragon here. Can my brother Danny get a birthday shout out and claim his dragon name, Rugby Dragon? Danny, you can, Rugby Dragon, happy birthday. And thank you to all of you who watched the show today and throughout the week. Really do appreciate that. To our tier 3 members who joined us for the live Q&A yesterday, really that was a lot of fun. Hope that you enjoyed it. It's up if you missed it live. And I'm gonna be leading the first hour of the Young Turks later on with Kenya Evelyn and Cenk Uygur. Should be a lot of fun there too. So I look forward to seeing you there. And until then, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and I'll see you soon.